Welcome back to this week's Off the Record DJ podcast. Today, my guest is founder and CEO of Mixcloud, Nico Perez. Hello, Nico.
Hello, hello. Nice
Hello
to see
again.
you, Lance.
We just said hello, but we'll do it again.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, good.
Thanks for chatting to me. Yeah, as I was just saying to you, it's such an interesting time for DJing in general. I think we're in sort of uncharted territory where the DJ now is not just people are getting to DJing, not just to play in front of clubs or in front of people. They're coming into it building brands and wanting to make more of themselves than just going out and playing in clubs. And I think Mixcloud has been at the forefront of trying to support a DJ through the different sort of stages in their journey. But what do you think about the sort of creator economy as a DJ? I know that Mixcloud now is a platform where you can upload your mixes, you can live stream, you can create communities, you can monetize. I'd just like to get your sort of thoughts, sort of top level thoughts on what you think about the sort of where DJ industry is at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the good news is that in many ways it's easier than ever before to get started.
Sure.
So if you're kind of like, thinking about DJing, want to learn, picking up a controller, it's the barrier to entry has lowered tremendously from say, 15, 20 years ago. The bad news is that because of that, so many more people are DJing, so many more people are involved. And so in some ways it is more difficult to stand out. You do have to put in the extra hours, put in the extra work and, build something that's unique and different and special. So I think that, the landscape has changed even in the last 5 years because of that. But we've always been, as a platform, here to kind of support people who are DJing and curating music, whether it's kind of in a fully professional headline, the main show capacity, or even just a passion project, something that they like to do at home or with their friends.
100%. You've added in so many tools over the years to help, like you mentioned, support the DJ through it. The last time we spoke 3-4 years ago or something like that, and you were just incorporating streaming into that. Do you just want to sort of give us a bit of a top level of where Mixcloud are at in terms of feature set and how it supports the many facets of what goes into being a DJ now?
Yeah, totally. So we kind of think of the platform as like a toolkit for DJs and music creators. And we think of the tools broadly in kind of 3 categories. So the first category is expression, freedom of expression. So if you have DJ'd on Facebook, Twitch in the past, Instagram, a bunch of other places, chances are you've encountered a copyright takedown issue. And that's due to the complexity of like music licensing and clearing copyrights. And from day one, that's what we set out to solve. And we were one of the first pioneers in doing that. And we make sure that the music that you play, the artists, record labels, and songwriters, they're getting paid the royalties that are due to them in that music. And what that enables us to do is offer this platform where you can pretty much play any song that you want, whether it's on a live stream, whether it's a recorded set, whether you do the live stream and then record it. And most recently, single tracks as well. So if you produce your own music, if it's your own productions, you can put those up too. So that's the expression category. The second category is about community, about building engagement, about building reach and followers. And so in that category, we have tools like we just released a tool called host tagging, which is a little bit like collaborations on Instagram. You can co-own pieces of content. So for example, if you got a show on a radio station, both you and the radio station kind of co-own it. And that way it goes out to both of your audiences, increasing your reach.
Nice.
Reaching more people, helping you build that community. Got comments, follows, coming out with in waveform comments coming up soon. It's going to be released soon.
Awesome.
So lots of features there around kind of building your community. And that's the big area for us as well going forward. And then the third category is around monetization, because we know at the end of the day, certain people, when they reach a certain level, they like to actually generate some income from what they're doing. And in that category, you can turn on channel subscriptions. So if somebody is interested in subscribing to your channel, you can make certain mixes exclusive only for paying subscribers. And you can also turn on tips. So if you're doing a live stream, you can accept tips. You can also turn on tips on your profile and accept them that way. And that's all on the Mixcloud product. And then most recently, in the last, let's say, 3 or 4 months, we actually acquired another company called Encore.
Sure.
Encore, what they do is basically it's a booking marketplace. So if you're a working DJ or a musician and you're looking for gigs,
Right.
you can get your profile up there and you can get booked for birthday parties,
Oh,
company events, things like that. Because, at the end of the day, I imagine a lot of your listeners and a lot of working DJs, probably most of their income comes from,
yeah,
working gigs.
for sure. For sure. I was going to dive into that. It's amazing you brought that up. How does that work then? So a DJ is on Mixcloud, they upload their profile, and then they can connect it to, you say, a company called Encore, which has been going a while, right? Do you just want to give us a bit more of a background on what Encore does and how it approaches you, how you might get a gig from it?
Yeah, totally. So it's encoremusicians.com. It's in the website, the address. They've been going for about 10 years. The way it works is kind of similar to, say, like an Airbnb style experience where you as a DJ, you create a profile, you set, what are your rates, you set your area, and then, people can book you. You can link your Mixcloud mixes in the sense that you can bring them and kind of put them on your profile.
Mhm.
And we're going to be integrating the two products a little bit more in the future as well. But essentially, what it does is it enables you to kind of, I guess, get discovered a little bit more. So, if you're, a DJ based in Leeds or Glasgow or London or wherever it may be, and somebody is looking for that person to play at their event, they can now find you. So that's pretty cool and something that just made a lot of sense for us to kind of join forces because they were looking for a new home.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's a great something great that's been added in recently. I'd love to go back to the streaming aspect. Another thing that a lot of our DJs coming through love to do. I think depending on location, it seems to have a bearing on it. In the US, streaming for DJs is so huge. In the UK, maybe not so much. But how have you found rolling out the streaming as DJs taking it up more often, or is it plateaued? What does streaming look like on Mixcloud at the minute?
Yeah, so we built a live streaming part to the platform basically in the first 3 weeks of the pandemic
Yeah.
back in 2020.
Yeah.
And that was in response to just avalanche of requests. Like we had so many people asking us for that. So we built it really quick. And we've kind of refined it and done a lot of work on it over the last 4 years. What I would say is that, in the pandemic, everybody was live streaming because there was nothing else to do.
Sure.
And now we've kind of reached a norm, a new kind of era where like you have your people who love to live stream and that's how they build their community and that's how they build their audience. And that's what they continue to do. And then there's other people who kind of, they prefer to do the recorded sets and kind of perfect it before going live.
Yeah.
So you kind of generally see kind of two types of DJs and creators.
Mhm. Nice. I'd love to give some insight into maybe somebody who's not used Mixcloud before in terms of, you mentioned it's like the only platform out there that does revenue share and there's sort of very no takedowns. I'd love to sort of get behind the nuts and bolts of how you're able to offer that to DJs.
Yeah, totally. So this is kind of an area that, is very complicated, but in a nutshell, we have struck licensing deals with all the major record labels, all the major publishers, the performance rights organizations. So now we're talking like Universal Music, Sony, Warner on the label side, CRS in the UK, ASCAP, BMI in the States.
Mhm.
And what those licenses enable us to do is that freedom of expression piece. So you can pretty much stream nearly any song in the world and put it up there. And B, that they unlock the revenue opportunities, the monetization opportunities that include a cut to the DJ and recognizing the value of the curation there. And so some of your listeners may be familiar, but on YouTube, that doesn't exist. So if you're using other people's music, basically they get all of the revenue. Twitch has very recently introduced a similar program. They're kind of subsidizing it at the moment. Remains to be seen where things actually end up. But we were the first to be able to do this. We were the first people to build it. And ultimately it comes back down to that core idea of that, like, we believe that there is value in a DJ, a human at the end of the day, curating the music experience. So we talk a lot about how we're kind of like anti-algorithm, and we think that like not all algorithms are bad, but if we let our whole musical lives kind of be taken over by the algorithm, ultimately we think it's just going to lead to a lot of sameness and be kind of boring. So we're big fans of like human curation.
One thing we were talking about last week is sort of giving DJs a bit of a platform in which to grow in terms of like marketing. So we give them like a day one plan, like a day 30 plan, and a long term goals. What are some of the sort of short, medium, and long term goals that any DJ can do on Mixcloud to sort of ensure that they build an audience and sort of last on the platform?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the short term kind of first step would just be doing an upload.
Yeah.
So, recording a mix, recording a radio show, just getting it up there. It's free to upload. You can upload 10 things for free, and it's super easy. It's like, literally just like uploading a file. Midterm, it's kind of like getting to know the platform a little bit better, knowing how to use tags so that you appear in the right charts in the right places, following the right people, leaving, responding to comments if people leave comments on your mix or your show, things like that, just getting familiar with it. And then longer term, it is those things like building a community, potentially turning on monetization if that's of interest to you. Potentially, if you're not already on a radio station, maybe finding a radio station where you could do a guest show once a week, once a month, something like that. But I think, it's interesting. What we found is like, there's definitely some people who want to take it in a professional direction, and this is their career. This is how they earn a living. This is how they, get by. And then there's other people who, it's more of it's like a passion project. It's what they love to do, but maybe they have a day job on the side. So it really kind of depends in which category people find themselves.
Mm-hmm. We were talking a little bit about, you mentioned that you sort of anti-algorithm, and we sort of agree that it's that kind of going that way where now DJing, I think anyone can lean into their niche. It used to be a bit, you have to play a little bit of everything potentially and maybe find your audience that way. But I think that, especially with like a platform like Mixcloud, you can really double down on like what you're into specifically. You can, use your tags as you're uploading to really find that audience. And have you found that as well, like more so later than it was before, that people are really leaning into their niches and sticking it and building a community on Mixcloud around that niche?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that, if you're going to just play all of the mainstream pop artists and hits, arguably, people can go to a Spotify top 40 playlist or something like that and just get it there. Like, right. There's nothing that special about that. So I think what we're finding is increasingly the people who do well are the people who go a little bit deeper. They dig a little bit, maybe they play what would have been the B-sides back in the day, or maybe they kind of go a little bit deeper into like, okay, this artist sampled this incredible band from the 80s. Maybe you kind of bring that into the mix. So yeah, I think that ultimately, it's about finding those niches and exploring them. And you don't necessarily just have to stick to one niche, right? Like you could, go deep on, funk one day, and then you could go deep into like UK hip hop or grime, or you can definitely go into like deep into specific kind of categories or genres and areas. So I don't think it's necessarily that you have to feel constrained, but I think people do appreciate like when you explore a genre.
You mentioned earlier that people can now upload single tracks as opposed to just a mix. Has that been adopted like well from the Mixcloud users?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think we did that essentially because what we were seeing is that, again, for those DJs who are kind of taking the professional path and they want to go down that path, there is, for a lot of people, a point in their careers where there's somewhat of a ceiling in terms of like the shows and gigs that you can play if you're solely a DJ. I don't know if you guys have kind of talked about this on the podcast already, but yeah, we're seeing that like a lot of people, to get those bigger gigs, to get those bigger bookings, the promoters and the agents are looking for people who are producing their own music as well. So it's a little bit of both. So that was really the kind of the idea behind that.
Will this maybe lean into a bit more DJs being able to upload their own sort of edits and bootlegs, and that being able to be used by other DJs? I read an article on Tidal leading this a little bit in the future as well, where they're going to allow DJs to upload edits potentially for people to listen to, and then it will funnel back to the artist, and the tracks you use, the artist can use that. Is that something in your pipeline, or not yet?
Not yet. So right now we have a no bootlegs policy, and the reason for that is because basically, we want people to be uploading stuff that they've created. if it's a single track. If it's a long form radio show or DJ mix, they can upload anything. But when it's single track, it has to be their own. It is interesting. There does seem to be a little bit more of an appetite now amongst the record labels to be able to license edits and bootlegs. So yeah, watch this space. If we see a lot of people requesting it, then that's something that like we will kind of look at licensing as well.
Mm-hmm. Have you got any DJs who you can maybe shout about that maybe had some, like, success stories through Mixcloud that people listening can sort of either follow or just hear a bit about their story and why they've been so successful on Mixcloud? Is it just those ones who, really stick around and just do more and more of the good stuff? Or do you have anyone in mind that you can sort of champion?
Yeah, absolutely. Dozens of people. I mean, a good person that comes to mind is a guy named Lefto. He's actually a DJ from Belgium. He's a great example of somebody who plays across hip hop, electronic music, a kind of broad set of genres. I think he's now done over 500 or 600 shows.
Wow.
Just has that like consistency. He's just every week putting up a show, week in, week out. And I think that consistency really, really pays off. A couple other examples. So Chrissy Murderbot is somebody who a couple of years ago I talked about, going deep on genres.
Yeah.
He did like a year of mixtapes where he just went deep. So he'd do like a digital dance hall mix. Nice. Or like 1980s funk mix. He would go deep on a genre, which I really appreciated and really enjoyed. And then, beyond that, there's a lot of people who are like building up their career and kind of reaching new audiences. So DJ Blighty in the UK is another person who's kind of done incredibly well on the platform and got gigs off the back of that. And then we have a lot of DJs who are also on radio stations. So like a guy named Charlie Bones used to be on a radio station called NTS. Now has actually set up his own radio station called Do You Radio. Awesome. So he's very popular as well. So yeah, it really runs the gamut.
Love that. What is some practical tips that any DJ wanting to, I want to upload mixes regularly? Is there any best practices for creating a really good DJ mix that you found that anyone can kind of apply? Or is it really just about finding your audience who loves the music that you're into?
Yeah, so the two biggest things are consistency. So if you can do a mix every month or even every week, if it was a radio show or something like that, and have that consistency, not only does it build loyalty with an audience, a community, but it also kind of, I guess it builds that kind of like discipline for you as a DJ to really be putting stuff out there. So that consistency is like the number one thing. Number two, I would say, is thinking about the first 5 minutes of the mix as the most important, because just like a film, just like talk anything, if you got that hook, if you get that first 5 minutes, if you get people's attention, if you get them interested, then they're likely to stick around. If you start really slow and kind of like, takes ages to get into something and it's a little bit boring at the start, probably going to lose people. So
yeah, I totally agree with that. I think another thing I'd like to sort of point out as well is like how to promote yourself with Mixcloud. So obviously you've got Mixcloud as your audio platform where you're uploading mixes. But to get people to your Mixcloud account, you can do two things, right? So if you're recording a mix, you can set up a camera, you can film that. So let's say you're doing an hour mix, you film it, then all of a sudden, you've got an hour's worth of content there, visual content that you can constantly, cut up into clips. You can put that, maybe the video on YouTube and cross promote your Mixcloud profile as well to grow your audience. Is that something you'd suggest to build your profile?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think this is increasingly what we're seeing. We did this podcast a couple of years ago, and I think the rise of social media, the TikTok and Instagram phenomena, it's super powerful, right? Like that's where people are browsing. I'd say it's not necessarily where they're consuming like a DJ mix or long form content, but that's where they might discover you. And so having a 30-60 second snippet for those social media platforms that gives people a taster, gets them interested, that is definitely something that we encourage. And then, just the standard like link trees and stuff that you can put in your bio, and, you can link to your Mixcloud that way. That's something that we see a lot of people doing as well. But yeah, definitely. I think that, increasingly social media is the kind of discovery mode. It's where people come across things. But when they want to go deeper and they want to listen to an hour, 2 hours plus, that's where kind of your Mixcloud profile can help.
Mm. One of my favorite features is when you upload a mix, being able to sort of add the timestamps and the track list. And I think that's where it comes in. If you're putting up, clips of your mix on Instagram, on Reels, on TikTok, the number one question gets asked is like, what's the track ID? What is this track? Where can I get this track? And that's where you can start to position yourself as a discoverer of music, of finding tracks that people want to listen to and download. And I think that's a great feature inside of Mixcloud.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're one of the few platforms where you can go in and actually specify, okay, this is track A from minute 1 to minute 3, track B from minute 3 to 7, things like that. And that's the feature that like we're actually going to be revamping soon as well, to make it even more powerful and actually try and automatically pre-fill. We actually do automatically detect the music if you don't put in the track list, but we want to make it even better so that you can kind of like see a preview of what we think it is, and then you can kind of correct it and say, yep, that track, things like that.
Yeah. Like I say, all of these tools are just really leaning into what I think the DJ is becoming in terms of building a personal brand, making different monetization options. We've heard a lot of stories in the news about club closures and things like that. And DJs, it seems like DJing is becoming more popular in a different space. And I think that Mixcloud is at the forefront of that. Is there any new features that you're working on? What does, the next year or two look like for Mixcloud?
Yeah. So I mentioned the waveform comments. So we're working on that. So people will be able to leave comments at specific points. You love the drop, you love the mix. You can leave it there in the waveform. And then we released a new edition of the app that's completely redesigned. It has like a For You homepage. It's a little bit inspired by Netflix, kind of these shells where you can browse and discover mixes by people that you follow or people who your friends are listening to. We released a dark mode on the app as well on Halloween, which was pretty fun. So if you're a dark mode fan, go get that. Yeah,
That's me.
Save your eyes. Go turn that on. That's there. And then looking forward, I think I mentioned like we're thinking a lot about community, about how it's more important than ever to not just be like one person just pushing stuff out, but actually having networks and communities and collectives and radio stations. And we're thinking a lot more about how we help those communities grow and prosper so that, if you're a DJ collective or you're putting on a night with other people, like what are the tools that you need? And so I can't say too much right now, but we're thinking about that space and looking at that space. And I think that's really important.
Exciting stuff, man. Exciting stuff. I think what's been amazing for us, we've just started, we just launched a new channel where we're just uploading long form video content. We launched a new channel. We just uploaded our first 2 mixes onto Mixcloud, and we really want to lean into music discovery. It's a big sort of passion that the DJ in the Crossfader studio want to sort of get back to, and Mixcloud is going to be a big part of that. So we've enjoyed just going back to basics and just hunting for music for hours and hours, and then being able to present that to our Crossfader community. And like I say, we're going to be uploading all of our weekly mixes onto the platform for people to listen to. And already people are asking, when's the next one? So we're excited to join forces in that way. And we've also done some giveaways in the past with Mixcloud, and we've done some work over the years. So excited to continue that partnership, and we'll see what opportunities present themselves. But yeah, thanks for talking to me today, mate. Some really awesome insights, and it's great to see Mixcloud still. I mean, I started DJing 15, 16 years ago. I uploaded to Mixcloud, and it's still here at the forefront, which is like really cool to see.
Yeah, we're here for the long term. We've seen platforms and places come and go in our lifetime, and we're here for the long term. This is our passion. This is our love. This is what we care about. So we've done over 10 years, and we'll still be here 10 years from now.